You join us live from the Hanoi circuit. It is round 2 of Breakout Racing League Formula 1, and qualifying is underway. I'm Rick James, and I'm joined by everybody's favorite Australian, Mitchie. Welcome to the booth. Welcome to the Tier 1 show, my friend, the Saturday night or Sunday afternoon nightcap, if you will. Hello to you. Hello to all the Breakout Racing League fans. Qualifying is underway, my friend.
Yes, it's great to be here. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And Vietnam Grand Prix, let's go, Rick. It's gonna be a good one, I think.
Already early activity, Mitch. We have 17 minutes to go, so we're not even 60 seconds into this session. Drivers like ARS Alan out there. Bruno Will, his McLaren counterpart, still in the pits, but Juggernog is out there. B-Dunk has joined, so both Mercedes are active. Hoopalicious in that 82 Ferrari, who came so close to victory last week, out on the track, and of course, that stark white Williams of Perondi. Last week's winner looking to go 2 for 2. Mitchie, who do you like in this field today?
I mean, Perondi. I mean, just absolute favourite. It's got to be an absolute favourite, Perondi. I'm pretty sure hearing last week, Perondi says loves this track. So, Perondi, definitely one to watch here tonight. Absolutely.
It's almost like we're watching the championship shape up so early. And you think back to those mid-90s, those great battles when you had Franz Tost and the early Michael Schumacher at Ferrari, just before the Ross Brawn era. And then you still had the brilliant mid-90s of the Williams and those gorgeous rainbow Winfield liveried Formula One cars, I believe, in '98. And seeing this battle between Hoopalicious and Perondi, respectively, first and second in the title, and arguably two of the most favored drivers to win this race, it brings a little bit of that nostalgia back, and it makes this season's championship hunt just a bit more special.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely does. I think it's going to be a great fight between these two in the championship for Tier 1. And I feel like it could go all the way. It could. We'll have to wait and see. Still many more rounds to go, Rick, of course. Many more rounds to go.
Many more rounds to go. Of course, we can't walk before we crawl. It's only round 2. ARS Edu is out. He is in one of, I believe, the lone Red Bulls out on this Hanoi circuit in round 2. Deer Hunter in that Pink Panther Racing Point, now starting his flying lap with 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this session goes. Rick's everyone out there on soft tyres at the moment, but early in the session, everyone's just going out to get the feel of the track, because probably not a lot of these guys have done many laps at Vietnam for quite a while. Who knows, maybe since last season, who knows? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Of course, strategy is always key, and see how it goes here tonight. And very cloudy here in Vietnam at the moment.
ARS Alan out on the track in that lovely papaya and blue McLaren. Right now, it's FRA Formula who's on his out lap, and right behind him is going to be the Renault of Mean Fern. Mitch, take us for a lap around Hanoi.
Oh, he's being fed. All right, here we go. Turn 1, that's going to be 1 point to watch out in this race at the start. Turn 1, turn 2, and going through now turn 4. You got to be right on. Make sure you don't hit that wall on the right there. And now we go DRS into what I like to call coming up the roundabout, because it's basically a roundabout, to be honest. It basically is. And you can just stand there, goes the lap for Mengford. But you'll see how he can go for the rest of the lap. And the long straights, very long straights coming up here right now for Mengford. And this is where you're going to get your time here tonight. And if you can get your time well, DRS and get ready for the pass here at turn 11 into turn 12. And we've already seen that's turn 11, 12 is probably the key passing spots at this racetrack. And if you can do that, you're winning, really. As we now come through turn 13 now, and this last sector, it's a challenging one. It's a very challenging one, because look at these walls. almost guarantee a wing damage. But these drivers, they're at top of their game. T1, I don't expect much wing damage from these guys, but who knows? That's where those wing damages can come from here tonight. And we're coming for the last few corners now. Passing opportunities maybe at turn 22 in the final corner if you can get the right run, and there's a lap around Vietnam. And Rick, it's a tough track, it's a demanding track, but it's a track that can deliver some good racing, and especially I think here tonight.
We're riding along with that lemon and charcoal colored Renault of Chandler Seta, 132.65, top of the tree. And then in that Ferrari Russell Red, it's Hoopalicious also coming down in the pits with a dozen minutes remaining. Last week's winner Perondi, third on the charts with 132.92, and the aforementioned Mitchie, now with B Duncan fourth, he's come down into the pits. Those top three, the only drivers to get below a buck 33, or we're in Vietnam, they use the dong here, so below a dong 33. And is that setting us up for the podium already? Is qualifying that indicative of how the race will turn out?
Yes and no. I mean, I think we could see maybe Formula's one who could seek up into the top five, maybe. But those, as you said, those four are the top guys here in T1. But there's still 11 minutes to go, and still anything can happen. There's already more cars starting to make their way out for another go here in Vietnam.
ARS Alan flying the Mexican flag in one of those papaya and blue McLarens, the number 14, much like Fernando Alonso, driving a steady lap around this lovely Hanoi circuit. Now, Mitchie, you have experience with this track. You know, you drive here, and we're all drivers in a sort. Some of us, like myself, better commentators than drivers. But in this case, where would you find the most challenging section here at Vietnam?
I mean, I'd love to say the whole track, but I still think the third sector. I think the third sector is the challenging one. You have to get it absolutely right, and even the roundabout at the end of the first sector, that being turns 6, 7, 8, and 9, that's a challenging part because you'll see tonight there could be sometimes where they go too wide and go side by side into the corner, but it's very demanding. This whole track is very demanding, and it's tough. It's tough, and if you win here tonight, you know you've definitely won a good one.
ARS Alan in round two. Look at that beautiful straight line that he cuts through that S section where if it's just one single car, Mitchie, it's incredibly easy. I believe we're talking about turns 12, 13, and 14 before it leads into, oh, look at this, the McLaren of Alan just absolutely cutting the life out of that hairpin, what appeared to be, I believe that was turn 11, I'm not sure, but a very extracurricular line. I was just saying how smooth he was up until that moment. Perhaps the curse of the commentator strikes early.
Yeah. Yes, that does happen. I can tell you from experience. Yeah, he also hit the. I think he slightly hit the wall at the roundabout as well at 7 and 8 as well. So it was a bit of a messy lap, but still 9 minutes ago. Still plenty of time to maybe do 2 more laps in this session.
The number 19 of BRL, Bruno Will, the number 19 McLaren, smoking the right front down into the braking section through these wide, very, very wide S's of 18, 19, 20, 21, and then leading into turn 22. He is on a flyer that he abandons into pit road, just like his McLaren colleague ARS Alan. XF1, one of the few drivers yet to put up a time, Mitchie. Is there an advantage to being in qualifying and waiting for everybody else to put a time?
Yes and no. Sometimes, I mean, sometimes you absolutely love to get out there, get a lap done, but sometimes not getting that lap in, there can be a lot of pressure trying to get that lap done. But sometimes you do, like sometimes I like to go out there on the secondary time, but not these drivers have not done that here tonight, and get the feel of everyone's lap times on softs. And yes and no, really, yes and no.
The number 95 crimson and snow colored Axe F1 getting around one of those McLarens. I believe that was by Juggernog. Right now, 6th on the timetable. Love seeing that car just tear through, and a tag to the inside concrete barrier as he makes his way through the turns 20, 21, and 22. As it were, we'll see what time the Alpha puts up. Mitchie, it is very much
Oh, sorry,
sixth.
sorry.
Brilliant. 6th on the board, 133.73, even with a bit of a kiss to the inside of that barrier. And Mitchie, I was going to go on to say that it's very much a rhythm circuit. As much as you can call a street circuit a rhythm circuit, especially through those S's, one wrong trajectory will destroy your lap.
Oh yeah, I can say this from my experience from yesterday in T4. Yeah, you got to be in a rhythm at this track, and this track's kind of like a Monaco-esque where you just got to be in a rhythm. And if you're in a rhythm, you're smooth sailing for the whole race and this session, especially qualifying. Qualifying here, you got to be in a good rhythm in the lap. And Axe still a 33.7. It's not bad to be in P7 at the moment, but that's still better. Probably almost 1.3 seconds behind Chandler, who is still on top at the moment.
Axe F1 getting another lap, and you mentioned that Renault of Chandler Seta sitting top of the tree. B-Dunk coming out for another taste of the Vietnam air at 185 plus miles per hour. There's Perondi, who's now coming down pit road with just over 6 minutes remaining, Mitch. His Ferrari rival, Hoopalicious, also in the pit, as is the Renault of Chandler Seta. The leaders taking a break just before the 6-minute mark. You can surmise they'll probably have 1 or 2 more cracks at the pole.
I'd say probably. I mean, we've got Big Dunk out there at the moment. We've got a couple of other drivers out at the moment. They're probably 2 more. I think the top 3, we're going to see them wait till probably 3.5 minutes ago, and then they'll be out for their final run. And it's still very close, of course, as you said, between Chandler and Hoopalicious on the pole at the moment. So I think it'll be a cracking end to this session with 5 minutes and 34 seconds to go.
5.5, soon to be 5 minutes remaining, and a big thank you to each and every one of the fans who are participating and with us today. If you're just joining us, I am Rick James, joined by the lovely Mitchie in the booth to bring you round 2 qualifying, or at the very least for you, the final 5 minutes of this second week of qualifying in this first 2021 campaign. It's only been a week and a half so far because we haven't completed round 2, Mitch, but are you enjoying the new season so far?
Oh, it's been very good. I think all teams, it's been exciting racing, and it's been a very good start to the season for season 6. And I think tonight will just prove it even more with this T1 race here tonight. Absolutely.
Right now, looking at ARS Adu, who's being chased down by that red Ferrari of Hoopalicious. Mean Fern now on a flyer trying to join his Renault teammate in the top 3. Act Juggernog in the pits. FinFan in the lone Haas on an outlap, now on a flyer. We'll see what the American constructor can do today. A big tail slide by that Black Arrow Mercedes of B-Dunk. And that must be difficult on such a flat circuit, Mitchie, to really control the power, gently feed the throttle so we don't see a wild fishtail.
You're going to see that, especially turn 1, turn 4, even that can happen as well. Coming into turn 4, excuse me. This track, you're going to see a lot of that here tonight. And Finn trying to keep hold of it and get this lap through here in his Haas, and could have a McLaren, maybe get a little toe, get a little time, maybe. Who knows?
B-Dunk on a flyer right now, 6th on the timetable with 133.18. He is the 3rd of 3 drivers on the 133 mark, and his lap is abandoned with a visit to pit road. Just under 3.5 remaining, Mitchie. The leaders have to go now. While one McLaren is out, the other is in. The Williams of Perondi waits in the garage. Hoopalicious is on a flyer.
Yeah, Hoopalicious on a flyer. This will be the lap for Hoopalicious to try to get Chandler's off of pole here at the moment. A little moment, but looking good at the moment for Hoopalicious. And it's only a sliver that Hoopalicious has to get over the Renault here at the moment. And the long straight begins, and the DRS will open now. And let's see if Hoopalicious can maybe sneak up onto pole here, Rick. If he can get Chandler, it's going to be close, I think.
2.5 remains in qualifying session number 2 of the 17 that we're going to, I'm sorry, of the many 20 plus we're going to have in this season. Hoopalicious, who sits 8 points back of Perondi so far. It seems a minuscule gap, and it almost seems trivial to think about it only 2 rounds into the season, but that 8 points could double and become 16, or it could shrink and even become a lead for Hoopalicious. It's quite crucial in round 2 to keep one eye on the championship.
Well, that's exactly right. And Hoopalicious invalidated lap time, and that's going to be P2 for Hoopalicious at the moment, with, of course, Perondi and Chandler still to complete their laps, and even B-Duck, who's on a lap right now.
Chandler Seta on pole right now, 1:32.39, provisional for the next $1:30. Perondi also on the outlap, last week's winner in this lovely ice white Williams, the number 91, tearing down the track, headed towards the start line to start his final flying lap of the session. And Mitch, taking a look at that table in the top left-hand corner, all but 2 drivers are on outlaps. It's going to be a dangerous traffic jam in the final 60 seconds.
Yes, there's actually quite a few. That's it looks like there's pretty nice gaps all around, but everyone pretty much, yeah, leaving it to the last minute to get out there and get their lap done here to see if anyone can take Chandler off of pole here at the moment.
Perondi begins his final flying lap of this session. The number 91 Williams is down. He's away. Meanwhile, Hoopalicious gets one more crack in the final 40. Chandler Seta in the number 93 Renault on a arrow straight run down into these S's, 12, 13, 14. The minor turns before they explode into the wide corners. That's going to be 15, 16, 17, and beyond. Mitchie, this is do or die for not only Chandler Seta, but everyone else behind him. 10 seconds to go.
Yes, and Chandler fastest in the middle sector, and Chandler could improve here by slightly, and Perondi as well is coming up to the end of his lap as well. So two big competitors here that could take pole and take the win here, and could be battlers for the championship as well. Because last week Chandler DNF'd in Bahrain. As now Chandler comes around the last corner, it's a slight improvement from Chandler. Perondi's on a pretty good lap here as well, Rick. And can Perondi, championship leader, get on pole?
0.6 is the gap between the Renault and the Williams, more than half of a second as Perondi comes through the final 2 corners. That beautiful Williams out of the final corner slams that wall. He improves slightly as carbon fiber tumbles down that front straight. 1:32.78. Chandler Seta, your provisional pole sitter, and it looks like that will be the case unless either of these McLarens can come up with something brilliant. We see their Hoopalicious retiring right before the checkered flag flies in qualifying. Exciting end, and it certainly leads to a very exciting race, Mitch.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute exciting race. Alan at the moment, ARS Alan in the McLaren, coming up to the end of his lap, it's P4, but still a bit of a gap to get to maybe past Perondi, and Alan will cross the line and almost took over Perondi, but as Finfan now goes P3 in the Haas. Wow.
Finfan, the number 72 Haas, getting 3rd right there, and a brave end to this qualifying session. He sits on the 3rd step of the podium right before the race begins. Fans at home are going to take a very, very brief break while we load up the race. It's going to be round 2 of the Spring 2021 campaign, the Vietnamese Grand Prix for the Breakout Racing League. Welcome back to round 2 of the Vietnamese Grand Prix from the lovely, now sunny, virtual Hanoi circuit. Chandler Seta leading us off. Hoopalicious in second. Number 1 Fin Fan in third, just stealing the spot away from last week's winner, Perondi, defending his first win of the campaign in that lovely Williams. ARS Alan Bruno Will front to back in the twin McLarens. Twin McLarens backed by twin Mercedes. Juggernog and Drake 7th and 8th respectively. Axe Formula One Mean Fern rounding out the top 10. ARS Edu in the lone Red Bull. Will he grow wings and fly to the front? Deer Hunter, the number 53 Pink Panther Racing Point FRA Formula, bringing up the rear. Teammate to last week's winner and current championship leader, BRL Perondi. Mitchie, welcome to Hanoi.
Yes, welcome to Hanoi, and it's going to be a good one. I think the battle between Chandler, Hoopalicious, even FinFan with absolutely superb lap, Perondi as well. I think we're in for an absolute cracker of a race here at Hanoi, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to this.
It's going to be a real treat being able to see how this championship is going to unfold. Chandler Seta, obviously one of the faster drivers out here. However, if you took a look at the points table after one season, you'll see Chandler Seta sits 12th with a DNF after last week. So quite literally, Mitch, everything to play for. Coming out of the final corner, these drivers are getting lined up, and we're about to start the Vietnamese Grand Prix.
Yeah, a lot to prove here for Chandler. He'll want to get a good race win here so he can get a possible championship lead or get into the championship points. But Rick, I will let you go for the starters. Formula's about to line up.
2 by 2. 7 rows deep. We're about to start the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Thank you, everybody who's joined us. Sit back, relax, and let's go racing. Five lights up, 5 lights down, and the Vietnamese Grand Prix is underway. Chandler Seta leading us in that Renault blocking the red Ferrari of Hoopalicious, who dives to the inside. They touch wheels in the first corner. The Renault cutting the second corner, and the Ferrari in the middle, now dropping positions but still holding second, getting tagged by the Haas of number 1 FinFan sitting in fourth. Out of this first S section, 1, 2, 3, Renault, Ferrari, Williams, and now the Ferrari of Hoopalicious to the lead. What has happened to the Renault of Seta? BRL Perondi in that Williams looking to go into second, but no, Seta tries to make the move. He locks up the tire, and white puffs of smoke into the Vietnam air as they round the top end of the circuit. Turns 6, 7, 8, and 9 down the straight, heading into 10. Ferrari, Renault, Williams, 1, 2, 3, separated by 1/2 of a second. 2 McLarens, 4th and 5th, Juggernog 6th, down the straight, and now into the turn 11 hairpin. Where will the lead change here? Seta now following the Ferrari into turn 11. He can't send it in. A small plume of white smoke from the left front of Hoopalicious, but the 82 Ferrari down and away. He leads this race headed into the S section, 8 points back of Perondi, leading this championship, and so far his intentions are great. Ferrari leading around that S section now, 18, 19, 20 into the final 2, 21 and 22. Seta now following that 82 Ferrari in his 93 Renault. Perondi watching from the number 21 Williams, and he's got Bruno Will right behind him with his McLaren teammate Alain. Finishing this first lap, Mitch, Ferrari, Renault, Perondi, 2 laps in.
2 laps in, and Chandler now goes back into the lead. I don't know what happened there. Hoopalicious now goes back into P2, and Perondi now on these two at the moment. So looks like it's going to be an absolute freeway fight here for the lead at the moment. Bruno Will still there behind as well, and the other McLaren. So could be a 5-weight fight here in a second. And Perondi, he's right on Hoopalicious here, and Chandler now back in the lead and now slowly starting to pull away.
Chandler Seta leading this one by just 1/2 a second over the Ferrari of Hoopalicious, but this is where the Ferrari can make up the gap. This incredibly long straight, but now you see the Williams of Perondi has his intents on second place, right behind the left rear tire of the Ferrari, headed into the turn 11 hairpin. Mitch, they're going to have to give way.
They have to, and it was almost close to being a free wide moment there, but it's now Hoopalicious close to Chandler, and we're getting close here now to, I was about to say DNF, DRS being enabled, and it's going to be, make it interesting even more between these three. Perondi got very close to getting to second, but that DRS is going to change everything in a matter of seconds.
In a matter of just turns here, Renault, Ferrari, Williams, your top 3, and 2 McLarens waiting for these top 3 to collide, as it looks like. Now completing the 3rd lap here at Vietnam, Chandler Seta leads, but now it's only 0.3 of a second. He does set the fastest lap at 1:38.21, so the gold Renault is purple for the circuit. 3 laps into this Vietnamese Grand Prix. Mitch, who do you like? Mitch, you got a copy? Seems that we might have lost Mitch here, and we'll get him back momentarily. Seta, Hoopalicious, Perondi, your top 3, headed around 6 and 7. Chandler Seta leading Hoopalicious and then Perondi. Meanwhile, the gap grows. Mitch, Bruno, Will, and Alain sitting 4th and 5th, and it seems like the top 5 have just stolen this race. Axe sitting 2.4 seconds adrift of that top 5 in his lone Alpha. Still no audio from Mitch. We'll try to get him back as soon as possible. Axe F1 sitting 6th, all by his lonesome it seems, because the next driver up is number 1 FinFan in the Haas, and you saw it looked like he made contact with Hoopalicious in the Ferrari, and no end plates missing. Doesn't look like any apparent damage on the Haas. So far, so good. Meanwhile, at the front with a 1:37.73, Chandler Seta now increases his lead on the best lap table. Hoopalicious now falling more than 5 1/3 tenths off, but now look at him close the gap. DRS opens just as Mitch calls it. 4 tenths and tumbling down the straight, headed into 5, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, it's closing right in Hoopalicious is on Chandler here, and you're going to watch this DRS possibly. No, Hoopalicious didn't get the perfect exit out of turn 9, and Perondi now sits and watches behind, and Chandler will be happy that Hoopalicious is not there behind him at the moment, but pretty steady between these top 3 at the moment.
4 laps into this race and more tire smoke from the Renault of Seta. Mitch, it almost looks like Seta could be driving the car just a bit too hard with this tire, with the way he's locking up these tires. And again, the Renault brings smoke into the air from those soft Pirellis. That certainly is going to hinder his pit strategy, won't it?
Oh, it absolutely will, but he's pushing absolutely hard because he knows Hoopalicious is closing down that margin slightly, but Hoopalicious making mistakes as well. So everybody's just on edge here at the moment in this race as we're now on lap 5 for this Grand Prix.
5 laps into this race, and you just saw at the back of your frame pieces of race car flying off. Now you see the end plate on the number 95 Alfa Romeo of Axe Formula One. Look at that there, Mitch. He's destroyed the right front side of that wing, and you can see he's suffering now. The crimson and chalk colored Alfa now in deep trouble.
Deep trouble, and we could maybe see Axe stay out and try to just hold on to it maybe for their pit run, but I don't know. It's very tough here as B-Dunk has retired in the pit lane. Yeah, Axe, it's going to be very tough. This track, even a sliver of damage at this racetrack, it's very difficult to race at. Very difficult.
Axe F1, you can see the AI above his gamer tag and the Haas of number 1 FinFan paying attention, and surely with the functioning downforce and a little bit of tire smoke, but he gets crossed over. The Alpha wounded but not out of resourceful driving. A yellow flag now in Sector 1. Now you can see the top 3, Mitch, have now broken away, whereas the top 5 are 5 seconds clear of the remainder through this field. It's now almost 2 seconds between the top 3 and then their McLaren rivals.
It's pretty much the top 3, as you said, and then it's the 2 McLarens having their own little battle. As behind, it's for 6th place. Finn has finally got that move done on Axe. Of course, Axe, as we saw, has got some wing damage. So a lot of battles up and down the field here at the moment, and Hoopalicious every so inch is getting closer to Chandler, but it's very tight between this top 3 at the moment.
A yellow flag in Sector 2, so now we've had a yellow flag in all sectors of the race so far for one reason or another. Hopefully not more pieces of race car flying onto the circuit. Now, here's something that's incredibly interesting, Mitch. The Alpha of Axe F1, you can clearly see on the right front side of that wing, it is wounded, and the way that it's just, as you would say in NASCAR, pushing or understeering, if you will, through these corners is ridiculous compared to the drivers behind him. What's the reason for not coming down to pit road?
Well, it could be just fingers. Meanwhile, at the front, Perondi's now looking for the move here on Hoopalicious, and Perondi now goes into P2. As Chandler and Hoopalicious were going side by side, and now Perondi up into 2nd place, and the championship leader now closes in on Chandler. But yeah, for Axe, Axe is just, I think, just going till their next pit window if they're going to pit on the hards or the mediums. So I think that's pretty much the way that Axe is going to be going here at the moment.
The McLaren's still a bit behind, but now Chandler Seita leading all the laps so far, putting 6 down and starting a 7th. Look at the Ferrari of Hoopalicious, almost doing Fernando Alonso-style tire warm-ups at speed, if you will. Headed into the first corner now, yellow, white, red, Renault, Williams, Ferrari. 7 laps into this race. The top 3 has changed hands vividly throughout this race, and it's making for exciting racing, but it has to be wreaking havoc on this tire wear, Mitch.
Yeah, it's going to be the tyre wear is going to be a very interesting story in this race. Also, depending on what these drivers go on, as Chandler absolutely going for it here at the moment, and Perondi behind. DRS will be enabled, of course, and Perondi not. Oh, I don't know. I don't think Perondi's close enough to maybe get this move done. And I think soon, Rick, we're going to see some pit stops here, but well, Perondi just not close enough at the moment to make the move on lap 7 of this Grand Prix.
He's on the gearbox. He can smell the French
Yeah.
petrol of the Renault right in front of him as they go through this configuration. Renault, Williams, Ferrari top 3, and it almost looks like the Scuderia Ferrari of Hoopalicious is a bit off the pace. He's 8/10 off of Perondi, who sits in second. About to start lap 8, Mitch. Could this be a bit of conservation from Hoop?
Well, Perondi is just pitted and Hoop is surprisingly not pitted yet. But Bruno will in as well. Perondi in, and I can tell you this, Rick, that the undercut here is very, very big. So this could be maybe coming up to a change for the lead here. Maybe, who knows? So Chandler's going to absolutely be on it here on this lap. And Perondi now goes on the hard tyres, and Bruno will hard tyres as well.
ARS Allen in the number 14 McLaren in the bronze medal position while the pit stops cycle through. You called it, Mitch, the delta, or the undercut, if you will, is going to be a grand strategy to gaining positions in this Vietnamese Grand Prix. We're just under 1/4 of the way through, or 1/3 of the way through, I believe. FRA Formula in his Williams now making it up to the 5th position while his teammate gets fresh tires. Chandler Seita leading by more than 1 second, which gives him the advantage because now the Ferrari behind him can't deploy the DRS.
That's right, can't deploy DRS, and that will help Chandler a whole bunch, knowing that that Ferrari is not going to get close enough for the move. And Perondi was just behind traffic of Edu in the Red Bull, but now Perondi's got clear track ahead, and we'll wait and see here, Rick, if the top 2 will come in here.
From the cockpit of this brilliant red Ferrari chasing down that golden charcoal Renault of Chandler Seita, who comes down pit road, but the Ferrari stays out, and this could have been what that distance was. Mitch, a bit of conservation for one more flying lap before he comes down pit road, and there you see the graphic on the right-hand side. The 2-stop strategy for the hard tire has now opened. That could be Hoopalicious' move, but look at that, the big 4-wheel drift after he jumped onto those tall red and white curbs. He is caning it on this in-lap.
Absolutely going for it, and absolutely full speed ahead, and knows he's got to do that as Chandler out in front just gets ahead of Perondi. Maybe the traffic did hurt Perondi slightly there on the last lap, but Chandler maybe have just had a very good outlap, which is what Hoopalicious is trying to make sure he can do, and try to see where he goes between Chandler and Perondi.
Hoopalicious 12 seconds ahead on what could be the fastest lap of his race if he doesn't ditch it down to pit road. FRA Formula in the Williams now in second, Mean Fern third, and his teammate and Delta leader Chandler Seita sitting right behind him. 1 second and counting is now the distance to his Renault teammate Mean Fern. Hoopalicious still moving at grand speed through the S section. 12 1/3 seconds is the distance here. Mitchie, he is on it.
He's absolutely on it here at the moment, and he will be now into the pits. Hoopalicious in, and now Hoopalicious will see what time he's gained or time has lost once he comes out here. Most likely, I'd say probably on the hard tyres. And I can confirm it is hard tyres.
Let's pull up the tire telemetry and see where these drivers find themselves. We can see that Chandler Seta on the hards, Hoopalicious on the hards, FRA Formula, who's currently leading this race, on the mediums right now. I'm sorry, FRA Formula. There's FRA Formula on the mediums in the Williams. Chandler Seta now giving chase 5 seconds behind. And look at the gap that's now been created. Chandler Seta coming out about a second ahead of Hoopalicious, and this could be the breaking point in the race. If the Renault can keep the gap to greater than 1 second, obviously the Ferrari can't use DRS, and he could extend that gap, but obviously, Mitch, at the cost of those hard Pirellis, which are now intended to go the rest of the distance.
That's right. They will go the rest of the distance in this race unless a late safety car happens. It will be going the distance for these top 3 drivers in this race. So of course, Formula in the lead at the moment, but Formula most likely will be going long as he can, maybe to see if he can maybe go on the softs at the end, or probably go on the hards at any moment from now.
ARS Edu 12, Deer Hunter in the pink Racing Point, and obviously FRA Formula leading this race 10 laps into this Vietnamese Grand Prix, the only drivers of the remaining 12 to not pit. No penalties so far, and for the moment, obviously, the only 3 drivers who haven't pitted, gaining the most positions throughout this race. But now the strategy is on, because it's a game of management at this point. The top 3 that we expect, Mitch, are in order. Chandler Seta now going purple on those hards with 137.58. He's gone purple now, so the Ferrari can see that.
Yeah.
Now the Ferrari of Hoopalicious has to put in his head, does he chase, or does he conserve his Pirellis for the end? Put yourself in that driver's spot. What do you do?
Well, I think at the moment Hoopalicious is pushing, because Superlicious is now just under a second of Chandler, which is going to be so important for that long straight DRS. That's going to be so important, and that is absolutely helping him here at the moment. So these two very close with each other at the moment. Perondi's drifting back just slightly at the moment, which is not great for the Williams, but the Williams could just sit back and watch these two fight it out, which is looking like could happen.
There's the rear wing. That gap opened to give that Ferrari an advantage down the straight, but it won't be enough headed into 11, and he dare not dive bomb this early in the race. You may have seen on the bottom of your screen, but now you can see on the right side of the timing tree by Juggernog collecting the first penalty of today's event, a 3-second admonishment for multiple track warnings. Going through that tight S section, Mitch, as we just saw this Ferrari do, must be just terrifying to do from a cockpit view if you're driving, but especially if you're on a fast qualifying lap.
And especially when you're trying to catch the guy ahead of you who is going to be effectively in the lead. It can be very demanding, and you're got to be so razor focused with that car ahead. And I tell you what, Hoopalicious is slowly closing that gap down on Chandler here, and we'll have to watch out here for this DRS zone coming up and see where Hoopalicious can gain here on Chandler.
You can see there on the back of the Ferrari, the rear wing has opened. He's extending his gap over Perondi now to almost 2 seconds. The Renault sending it in with a long trail of ghost-like smoke into 6, 7, and 8. Down the straight, the Ferrari will have the opportunity to open the rear wing one more time. Watch on the steering wheel for the driver to hit the button. And there is the wing opening one more. It's brilliant seeing that mechanism, isn't it?
It's absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I tell you what, oh, Chandler locked up there slightly. And these two absolutely, they know the pressure's on here at the moment. And Hoopalicious, of course, will be wanting to get that move done. Of course, Hoop second in the championship, second last week in Bahrain. It's going to be an absolute almighty fight here, and we're only on lap 12.
A brilliant, brilliant race so far, and not the favorite track for a lot of the drivers. It is not a driver-friendly track, considering how rhythm-based it is in that third sector, and just how unforgiving these barriers are. But it is giving good racing in these first lucky 13 laps at Vietnam. And if you're just joining us, once again, I'm Rick James, joined by Mitchie, and we're bringing you uninterrupted coverage of round 2 of Breakout Racing League's Premier Series here at Vietnam. The DRS opens one more time, and Mitchie, for this upcoming 14th lap, I want to take a look at turns 2, 3, and 4, that very wide, sweeping right-hander, and how wide the drivers dare take it, because there is no runoff area. It's all tarmac. So they have almost a free pass to go wide here on the final lap and really gain an advantage. Here comes the Ferrari.
Yeah, I'll speak of that in just a second, because the Ferrari is about to possibly take the lead here. Second, but will be effectively once Formula pits, and Hooperlicious goes to second, and that could be effectively for the lead. But yes, I've been on board a few times with Chandler, and goes so wide sometimes into turns 2 and 3, and I'm just thinking, these drivers are about to spin or go into the wall. That's how unique those first opening corners are here at Vietnam, and we'll see that here very shortly, because these drivers are. Excuse me. These drivers are about to come to the end of this lap here now on lap 14, and Chandler will be wanting to stay on the back of Hooperlicious here as much as he can, but Hoop is getting away.
Hoop extending that gap now 0.6 of a second. 13 laps complete, 14 laps underway. Next time across the line marks halfway in this second round. And look how wide they go here, especially that Ferrari right there, Mitchie. He puts half the car beyond that white line into those Formula One advertising blocks, if you will. And obviously he can't put the entire car out there, or he'd be extending the track limits, but is it that much of an advantage to extend your car that distance?
Oh, well, I think it would be, absolutely. I think it would be to get that run, get that perfect run, especially out of turn 3 into turn 4 and 5. It helps you a lot, and Hooperlicious is just slowly getting away. And I'd like to point out as well, Perondi's now under a second of Chandler. So I thought, as Hooperlicious has left the session, and that's not good.
The same fate that the Renault behind him was cursed with last weekend. The Ferrari is a ghost. The Renault jumps the curb, and now Chandler Seta into the effective lead, but right now sitting in second. And there is the ghost Ferrari of Hooperlicious. Left the session. Mitch, I'm at a loss for words. This is incredible, given the fantastic first half of this race we've just witnessed.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. This has changed the race completely now, and now Chandler will be in the lead. Perondi is going to try to hunt down Chandler, even try to go for the lead, maybe. Who knows? So hopefully Hoop can get back in and make this race even more interesting, because Hoop has definitely been the quickest car out here so far tonight.
Now past the halfway mark, and Ferrari, virtual Ferrari, and Hooperlicious fans all over the world hold their breaths in anticipation, hoping that their Scuderia hero rejoins the event and gets back in that lovely number 82 piece of art. Speaking of this white and blue piece of art, this lovely Williams of Perondi, he's not so far behind Chandler Seta now, and you can bet that he's going to extend that DRS sooner rather than later.
Oh, exactly right. I think Perondi now is also up front. Chandler gets past Formula as well. So as the Red Bull is now out in the pit lane, retires in the pit lane. So Chandler now's got a car between him and Perondi, and funnily enough, it's Perondi's teammate, Formula.
Perhaps FRA Formula giving a bit of a break to Perondi, where Chandler Seta may not have had the easiest time, and sadness for the lone Red Bull. ARS Edu DNFs and leaves the session, presumably for a crash there, as he suddenly DNF'd, and now he's left the session. Yellow flag still waving in Sector 3. Renault, Williams, your podium positions, and both Williams have the DRS open. Perondi chasing down his teammate on the medium Pirellis, and this could be the move for Perondi to gain a good chunk, but it looks like he's being held up by his teammate on those mediums. This is so counterintuitive. Seta now pulling out to a lead of greater than 1 1/3 seconds.
It's going to help, absolutely help, as Superlicious has now rejoined, who is now 5 seconds behind the top 2. And Perondi now 1.5. Perondi will be trying absolutely his hardest to get to Chandler here for the lead, because there's still plenty more laps to go in this Grand Prix.
Perondi shaking off. I'm not sure what happened there. Probably trying to clean his tires after getting on a dirty line, but 1.6 seconds now the gap, and there is no DRS for the Williams. He now has to make up the gap himself. Will he be able to pull off such a trick 16 laps into this race at the cost of the longevity of those hard Pirellis? But that's not to say that Chandler Seta has been being gentle with his. We have been seeing him smoke that rubber all night long. Joy of Italian joys, Mitch. Hoop is back.
He is back, and he's now got under a second behind his Bruno Will in 5th, but I'm pretty sure Delicious will pull away here at the moment, as Formula, the other Williams, is now into the pit lane. But Hoopalicious will be now trying his absolute hardest, see if he can get that margin down between Perondi and Chandler. But Hoopalicious still on a podium at the moment, but has to worry about that McLaren behind.
Hoop now trying to break away, but it's almost like you have new life there. And look at that, the way he extends that car out there. And I don't know if it's ever happened to you personally, Mitch, but it must be a sigh of relief when you can rejoin the session, get back into your car, and it almost gives you a focused clarity to now get the job done.
It can be a little bit of a annoying as well, because you're back in and you're annoyed that you left the session, and you now got to try to get back into a rhythm, and that's what Hoopalicious will be doing at the moment. But with that McLaren behind won't help at all, and McLaren will have DRS here, but won't be close enough to make a move. So the Ferrari will hold on to P3 at the moment, but 7.5 seconds behind Perondi now. So that's not great after being in the lead.
Renault, Williams, Ferrari, Hoopalicious under attack from the McLaren of Bruno Will, and Hoopalicious sitting 8 points back of Perondi, and the gap will grow if the race finishes in this order. Bruno Will sitting 3rd in the points table right now. He could jump a position if he manages to work his way around this Ferrari. Meanwhile, rounding out the top 5 is the Haas of number 1, FinFan. He's gotten that front wing. No, I'm sorry, that was the Alpha, the Alpha of Axe, who had that damage. FinFan, despite the contact on lap 1, doing well in these final 11 laps.
Yeah, FinFan was contacted and lost a bunch of positions. I think FinFan was almost second last at one point, and still hold on to that top 5 here at the moment. So FinFan doing really well here tonight, and Alan's still behind. So that could be a battle to watch at certain points in this race between those two for that final top 5 position in this race. But Rick, the big story is that Formula is coming on soft tyres. So those two will have to watch out for Formula in the latter stages of this Grand Prix.
10 laps to go next time by. The number 2 Williams on those cherry-colored soft Pirellis, taking the wide line around. And from here on out, Mitch, certainly it's got to be 100% throwing everything but the kitchen sink all to the wall, my friend.
Absolutely, you're pushing as hard as you can. This is what Hoopalicious will be doing here at the moment, and Hoopalicious is almost dragging along Bruno Will here at the moment because Hoopalicious has gotten that margin down to Perondi, and Bruno Will still holding on to the back of Hoopalicious here. So it's a very fascinating race here at the moment. At the front, it's 2.3, so Chandler may have this race sealed, but it's not delivered yet.
Signed, sealed, delivered, and not yet his. We'll see what Chandler can do in these final 10 circuits. He does have a 2.4 second gap back to the Williams of Perondi. And here's the driver that we were going to mention with a broken, now repaired wing. XF1 sitting 8th in the running order right now. Axe 7th in the points table, finding himself actually just 2 markers behind ARS Alan in 6th. Meanwhile, Mitch, Mean Fern in the sister Renault to Chandler Seta, he sits 9th in the points table, 9th in the running order right now.
Yeah, Vingfern ninth at the moment. I had a bit of trouble throughout the race as well, I have seen. It's holding on to that points paying position in this race here at the moment. So that's always early on the championship. Points, they matter always. No matter what position, they always matter.
Fewer than 10 laps remain by Juggernog in this Mercedes. He sits just 1.8 seconds ahead of the Pink Panther of Deer Hunter. The number 53 Racing Point coming into turns 6, 7, 8, and 9, trying to take that top 10 spot away. And even if he doesn't, Mitch, that penalty of Juggernog will send him down to 11th despite his best efforts. He has to keep that 3-second gap. As a driver, it must be incredibly taxing knowing that it's a losing battle with that black and white flag next to your gamer tag.
Especially when you've got a soft tire runner coming at you, that being Deer Hunter. So, yeah, it's not great. It's not a great feeling, I can tell you from experience. But yeah, it's just going to be run, see if he can hold off the Racing Point behind him.
Mitch, it's absolute disaster for the Williams of BRL Perondi. He's got himself a penalty in these final 8.5 laps. Axe F1 racking up 8 seconds worth of penalties, speeding in pit lane and now getting another warning. But effectively, Mitch, this means Perondi now has to beat Chandler Seta by 3 seconds to win back-to-back races.
That's right. Has to really push it now with 9 to go. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough, especially as well with a fast approaching Hoopalicious as well. Perondi could go down to even P3 at the last few laps of this race. So that's going to be one to watch here in the latter stages as we're now got 8 laps to go.
Perondi leading by Chandler Seta leading Perondi by 2.5 seconds around these first few corners. And Chandler Seta now has to be forced into a mistake by the Brazilian Williams driver out of the first tight section down the long straight, and Perondi has 8 laps to get the job done. But now, Hoopalicious knows he is effectively 2.5 seconds behind the silver medal in today's race. He obviously must close the gap to 3 seconds. Bruno Will chasing a podium spot. He sits 3rd in the points table right now. It would be his 2nd consecutive podium spot and a fantastic start to the season. FinFan under attack from the other McLaren. The Haas on those hard Pirellis, as is the McLaren of Alan, and he's got Formula behind him. Mitch, 5th, 6th, and 7th respectively, is about to get interesting.
As Formula's going to look around the outside, easily for Formula, gets it done, and Formula now P6. Formula, oh,
Oh,
FinFan is around. Oh dear, that's a shame for FinFan. That's damage. Oh, that's such a shame for FinFan, and that's damage for FinFan, and that gives Formula P5, and Formula now has an open gap to even catch Bruno Will.
Alan within 1 second of FRA Formula. If he can maintain the gap, he'll have DRS down the straight. FinFan, a disaster, and the Haas does the right thing. Comes down pit road to repair this, and he's not out of the top 10 yet, Mitch, but his points are going to suffer in round 2. Coming into this race, 2 markers back of FRA Formula, who's just 3 points back of Bruno Will. So it could have been a leapfrog day for FinFan, but in these final 7 laps, it's going to be a disastrous points day for him. Meanford now going to take 7th place. Alan 1.4 seconds back of Formula, and the race continues.
Yeah, FinFan's going to drop back probably behind Axe, so FinFan will be pushing really hard on these latter stages of this race, and no, actually FinFan actually comes out in 10th, so Finn is still in the points and could still maybe sneak into 7th or 8th. We'll have to wait and see about that.
FRA Formula in the Williams now 1.9 seconds behind and trying to close that gap. Bruno Will 4.5 seconds back of the Ferrari of Hoopalicious, and Perondi now closing that gap to Chandler Seta. And despite that penalty, Mitch, when you're this close to the leader, it doesn't even matter knowing what the timetables are going to show. You just want to beat him.
Yeah, that's always the story. You want to beat him even on track. And another story is Perondi's probably he's got focus on trying to get Chandler because he'll help behind, because Superlicious is slowly catching to get under that 3-second margin. We've spoken about the points, the championship. Hoop getting ahead of Perondi could be a big factor in this championship come Brazil later in the championship, the last round.
The last round this year of the 17, we're going to have this campaign. Vietnam this week, Bahrain last week, and then the Shanghai International Circuit awaits in round 3. Then Netherlands, Spain, Azerbaijan 4, 5, and 6 in these final 5.5 laps of the Vietnamese Grand Prix. Chandler Seta leading by 1.8 seconds, and Hoopalicious 4.5 seconds adrift of the top 2. Bruno Will now overtaking FRA Formula, it seems, or the Williams actually is right behind Bruno Will. Now 0.2 of a second, and he's going to attempt the pass into turn 11. Here comes the Williams around the outside with DRS. The McLaren doesn't give up the fight, but the Williams bravely clears on this 23rd lap, and 4th place goes to FRA Formula.
Now the question is 5.8 seconds, is that enough for Formula to maybe catch Superlicious? We're coming up to 5 laps to go. We'll have to wait and see. There's still a long way to go here. So Formula is going to try his absolute best to catch up to Superlicious and maybe get a podium.
Bruno Will now 1 second behind the 4th placed Williams. Now as Chandler Seta crosses that line, Hoopalicious follows. We've got 5 laps remaining in this Vietnamese Grand Prix. A few drivers with penalties, but nevertheless it's been a thrilling event so far, Mitch. If you had to nominate a driver of the day in these final 4.5 laps, who would it be?
I'd have to go with Chandler. I mean, Chandler's done really, really well to hold off the pressure of Perondi and Hoopalicious. But I figured out as well, Formula doing very well in P4 as well, and could maybe still get a podium. We'll have to wait and see. Formula and Chandler, my top 2 that have done really well here tonight. Fantastically well.
On at the bottom of your screen, number 1 FinFan, pardon my scrolling, chasing down the Renault of Meanford, now goes to the outside. He just went purple for the circuit on those red softs, and he's on a tear. Now into 7th place, trying to claim what's his, 25 seconds back of ARS Alan, but a drive for pride at this point, Mitch, and you can't fault him for that.
Absolutely, and I think P7 still is a reasonable result, but it could have been a whole lot better. It would have been about fifth. I'm pretty sure he was in fifth, so yeah, seventh, not too bad. It could have been worse for FinFan, but yeah, P7 at the moment and doing quite nicely.
Meanfern still not safe from attack. Deer Hunter on those red soft Pirellis chasing down the Renault on those white hard Pirellis, and the gap now shrinking from 1.6 seconds. What does Deer Hunter need to do to close this gap?
Absolute push it to the absolute limits, and I think can get up there with those soft tires. But on 5-lap-old softs, they will start to wear out here very soon, but will still be, I think, very much quicker than the hard tires up ahead. So we could see D Hunter get up into P8 here very shortly.
4 laps now remain in this Vietnamese Grand Prix. Chandler Seta, BRL Perondi, Hoopalicious, your top 3. Renault, Williams, Ferrari. FRA Formula in 4th, Bruno Will in 5th. Tire smoke from Deer Hunter in 9th, and he closed 4/10 of a second, Mitch, between the final corner and exiting turn 3. This lap, we should see this overtake.
Yes, absolutely. We should see this overtake as now Juggernaut does the fastest lap of the race. So fastest laps all around here at the moment for these soft tyre runners. And it's going to be very interesting to watch here with 4 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Oh.
Coming to 3 laps to go this time by Deer Hunter, still not within DRS range, but now he's about to break the 1 second threshold headed into turn 11, riding all along with this Racing Point, exceeding well over 200 miles per hour down that straight. It is a fascinating and interesting track, this Vietnamese Grand Prix, and it's given a good show to the fans so far in these final 3 laps. Deer Hunter still giving chase, and where is Deer Hunter able to close? Obviously, if he's within DRS range, that will gain greatly, but where can this Racing Point, metaphorically speaking, cut corners to catch up to the Renault?
Absolutely, through 6-7 through the roundabout. Absolutely, that's where you're going to get your good time, especially on a hard runner up ahead. And goes really deep into turn 1, but holds onto it. And Deer, I think, will get this done possibly this lap, as Mingford, I think, just locked up there as well. So look for the Racing Point to make the move here on this lap, I believe.
The Racing Point within DRS range, 0.3 of a second is the gap. Here comes Deer Hunter, but he just can't make the move to the inside. Now, this is where you said is the best time for Deer Hunter to gain that time. You can see he gives just a little bit of gap at the top of that roundabout section, but now using the toe from the Renault, watch the rear wing for the flap to open, and here comes the Racing Point.
Should get this move done. Closing in. Oh, Meanford's making him work for it. Side by side, these two will go. And Mean looks not enough. And Deer Hunter will get through to P8. And now has to make sure to push away because Meanford could still. Oh, Meanford almost hits the back of Deer Hunter. Very close between those two there. But as you can see, Deer Hunter now pulling away in this last sector where those soft tyres will be absolutely magical.
You can already see the gap just increasing, and it's going to be well over 1 second before they hit the DRS zone, and if Deer Hunter can hang on for 2 more laps, that will be 8th place secured. 6.2 seconds behind the Haas of number 1 FinFan in the 7th position. ARS Allen and Bruno Will a symmetrical 3 seconds apart. FRA Formula 7.5 seconds adrift of Hoopalicious in 3rd. right now, the provisional bronze medalist is 3.5 seconds behind Perondi, who finds himself 2 seconds adrift of the race leader Chandler Seta. Coming up to this final lap of the 5.5-kilometer Vietnamese Grand Prix circuit, Mitch, Hoopalicious, if he gets within 3 seconds, he's got that silver medal.
It's 2.9, 2.8. He's closing in on that second place, but there's still one lap to go in this Grand Prix. It's going to be very tight here at the moment. It looks like Perondi is struggling. Chandler's lost a little bit of time to Perondi, but I think Chandler's just bringing it home on this last lap.
It could be a bit of conservation. It could be that the tires have absolutely gone. The Williams has been chasing down that Renault, so much so that he's earned himself a 3-second penalty. Chandler Seta, meanwhile, with failing Pirelli tires, must hang on to this Renault to get his first win of the campaign.
Has to hold on. It's going to be very, very close. It looks like Perondi's going to lose P2 and will go down to P3. That will be big in the championship. Hoopalicious will get a couple of points on Perondi. Chandler now about to close out this Grand Prix win.
Chandler Seta down this long straight one more time. The Renault leading the Williams by 1.8 seconds. Hoopalicious 2.8 seconds adrift of the second spot. Nonetheless, it's been a thrilling Vietnamese Grand Prix, regardless of the top 3 finishing order. But what a drive by Chandler Seta, Mitch. He's got just fantastic control through this final S section. From start to finish, there was never any doubt that Chandler was in control of his car, and in this final lap, he extends his lead over that Williams. 2 more corners for the smoking Renault, and in his second race this season, Chandler Seta gets his first win. He wins the Vietnamese Grand Prix with a flourish.
What a win for Chandler, and will be Hoopalicious P2 and Perondi third, because Hoopalicious did leave the session, and this game glitches sometimes when you leave the session. So yeah, so it will be Chandler, Hoopalicious, then Perondi, I do believe, because of Hoopalicious leaving the session in the race. But yeah, what a race. Chandler absolutely superb in that race win here at Vietnam.
Fans, stick around. We'll see if we can get the top 3 in our booth here for interviews post-race. But what an exciting Vietnamese Grand Prix. Chandler Seta in the now destroyed Renault, your race winner. Sit tight. We'll have top 3 in just a moment. A lovely podium celebration. Chandler Seta winning BRL Perondi. Looks like getting the 3-second penalty there. We'll have to see how that turns out. But right now being scored second. Hoopalicious unofficially being scored third in that Vietnamese Grand Prix. What a lovely drive, Mitch. Your driver of the day today? Fans, stick around. We're going to collect our top three and have our post-race interviews coming up soon. Back with you here for post-race interviews of the Vietnamese Grand Prix. We've got Hoopalicious and Chandler Seta to join us. And Mitchie, you've got our bronze medalist.
Yes, Superlicious. Bit of probably disappointed because unfortunately left the session during the race. Looked like you had really good pace throughout that one, and talk us through it. I have a feeling you'd be a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, I'm a bit frustrated, but the positives to take away from that I had pretty good pace near the end of the race. On the soft tire, I couldn't really do much. The dirty air wasn't helping me too much, but once I got past them, I was able to pull away a bit. And I got past Chandler. I was planning this, and once I got past Chandler, I was gonna get the DRS of Formula, and then instantly my Xbox just crashed. I don't know why. This usually happens when I'm competing for a win. I don't know why, but it's tough. But positive takeaway from that I had some pace, and I'm not sure what happened at the end. I did run out of fuel on the line, so I'm not sure if I lost the 3-second gap because I know there was a time glitch, but I'm not sure if I was within 3 seconds. So yeah.
Yeah, we'll be sure to make sure it'll be looked into absolutely. But if it's P2, P3, well done anyway. After the disconnect, so well done.
Yep. Bit of an interesting race, but yeah, just after Hoop disconnected, there was really no reason to push at all. I was pretty certain Perondi had damage, so maybe he didn't. Maybe he just fell off. I don't know what happened, but after that, it was just pretty boring race, honestly. No, and actually, I won't be here for China. I'll be in a sunny Florida instead because I would rather that. So I won't be here for China, but just with how boring a race, I don't know what. The only thing I can learn is don't read your chat while you're driving at a street circuit. There's a few times where I about doinked a wall, so I guess that's about it. Yep, thank you.
It was an absolute pleasure, and who knows if we do this again, I'll look forward to it.
everybody who was a part of this, thank you so much for your participation. Thank you, Chandler Seta. Thank you, Mitchie. There we go. We got the audio fixed. And that's going to do it for everybody here for round 2. Thank you, fans. We appreciate your participation, and we cannot do this without you. Next Saturday night, 10 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States, round 3 of the Breakout Racing League Tier 1 from the Shanghai circuit. For Mitchie, I'm Rick James. Have a wonderful evening.